welcome to our final episode of Tournament Talks with Dr. Christy Halbert. Dr. Christy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, always a pleasure. Like I say every time, you're always welcome anytime you want. So we're today's just going to be a not as long as our first episode, but we're going to kind of recap everything that went down in the Paris 2024 games. We had a really interesting tournament. I thought it, I know Dr. Halbert's going to go into it in a minute. But me and Herb were kind of talking back and forth the entire time, and there was some surprises we ran into. There was some stuff that we were just, you just never see it come until it happens, So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys don't mind, just drop a like on the stream, and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Halbert. She's going to go into a summary of what we saw in Paris.
Yeah, so just kind of wrap up the tournament a little bit, and then if y'all want to ask questions, feel free. But essentially, the Paris tournament was almost every single day of the games. The Olympic tournament is a long tournament. It's exhausting. 2012, I was just an assistant coach and technical advisor. I wasn't like in charge of the team, but I was worked so hard. I put in so many hours that on the plane ride home, all I could do was sleep, and it was a really cool experience. Like we flew United, and they were one of the sponsors and stuff. And so they were doing all this cool stuff on the plane. And when we would fly in to the airport and whatnot, and I couldn't even pay attention to that stuff. I was so tired. So the Olympics goes every day. There was one rest day. Otherwise they go every day. So the way the tournament broke down, 13 weight categories, 7 men's categories and 6 women's categories, 248 athletes total. And they they came from 69 countries. And at this games, there were no boxers from Russia or Belarus.
What was there? Was there a reason for that?
It's the IOC's policy on the Russian participation. I think it's like a political thing with the war or whatever.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
So whenever there's a world tournament, the Olympic tournament, whatever, there's always a ranking at the end of that tournament, and the teams are ranked based on how many boxers they have in the tournament and how many wins each team got based on how many boxers they had, and then medals also count for that as well. So in terms of overall finish, Uzbekistan was the number 1 team. And then China was number 2. And what's interesting about the number 1, number 2 is that Uzbekistan did it all with men's medals, and China got second place with all women's medals.
Wow.
And then I think number 3 or pretty close to 3 was Kazakhstan. They were really strong. Ireland was really strong. And then in terms of actual ranking, Team USA ranked 15th this year in the tournament. Yeah. So on the women's side, I mentioned China got first, and they were able to do that with 3 gold medals and 2 silver medals. And then they had a total of 8 boxers in the tournament. But those 3 gold and 2 silver came exclusively from women. And I heard the commentators at one point say that the Chinese women have now won more medals than the Chinese men have won, but the Chinese women have done it since London. And the Chinese men, have had well over 100 years of Olympic boxing. So pretty impressive. It's an impressive feat. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then on the women's side, the second ranked team was Taiwan, and then it was Turkey, and then Ireland. And then on the men's side, it was Uzbekistan. So Uzbekistan qualified 11 boxers in the tournament, which is huge. Out of 13, they get 11 qualified, and they got 5 gold medals on the men's side.
Wow.
So that is impressive.
Yeah.
And then France did really well. It's not uncommon for the home team to do really well at the Olympic Games. And that's for a variety of reasons. It could be that they got some friendly decisions. I didn't necessarily see it that way, but it can also be because usually right before a games, a country's going to put a lot of money into the various sports so that the athletes can fare well on home soil. And then on the men's side, next was Cuba. and they didn't have any women on their team, so they got third place exclusively with men boxers, and then Spain did really well.
Wow.
And then in terms of like impressive feats, on the men's side, the super heavyweight from Uzbekistan, Jalalov, I believe is his name, back-to-back gold medals.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he's a pro, right? I was gonna say he's a pro.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's enormous. He did a little hop over the ropes.
Yeah.
And he's 6'7", so
that's a big man.
Yeah, he's an enormous guy. And then also on the men's side, Arlen Lopez from Cuba, he got bronze. He was an impressive boxer to watch.
I think he was one of the ones you kind of pointed out in the beginning to keep an eye on, right?
Oh yeah, it's always fun to watch, for sure. Erzlande Alvarez, also from Cuba, 63.5 kilograms, and he was the only gold medal for Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah. And then on the women's side, impressive finishes were like Kelly Harrington from Ireland at 60 kilograms. She did a back-to-back gold.
Wow.
Yeah, from Ireland. So that was really impressive. And then Li Quan, the 75 kilogram from China. She got in Rio, she got a bronze. In what was the next one? Tokyo, she got a silver, and then this time she got a gold.
Hey, she's trying to bat for the cycle there, huh? She got it.
Yeah,
she got all three. That's
so that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then, other boxers that did well. I mean, on the men's side at 57 kilograms, the Kalalov from Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Wow, he's special. And I would also say, I mean, it was really, there are a lot of boxers that sort of get introduced to the world through the Olympics. They're not on anybody's radar. And this Olympics really was packed.
Oh, it was.
As far as skill goes.
I feel like that was big in Tokyo, especially for Team USA. It seemed like almost every fighter we had on Team USA got signed to pretty much Top Rank, ESPN, the promotion, almost as soon as the games were over. You had like Keyshawn Davis, Richard Torres, Tiger Johnson, like all those guys, like almost immediately afterwards. Was it Bruce Carrington, I think, was on that team too? Almost immediately got pro deals afterwards. So it was almost like they came out of nowhere, and now they're on the pro scene, and most of those guys are actually doing pretty well in the pro scene too. So I think it's just a good example of just once the spotlight gets on some of these kids, it's just a matter of taking off from there. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice stepping stone, especially for the men. I mean, it works for the women as well now, but especially for the men, yeah, it's a great stepping stone. Yeah.
So, I guess I was going to ask you. So, were there any teams or any boxers that I know you just went through a few of them that did really well, but was there anybody that maybe, I don't know, just surprised you, or just any teams that maybe you just were like, wow, they kind of came out of nowhere and just, did better than I thought they were going to, or whatever the case may be?
So I'm always impressed with Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, especially the last 10 or 12 years, especially. And I've had the privilege of coaching boxers in those countries, for camps and things like that. And they boxing's such an important part of the culture, and it pays off. Then you see this kind of growth in the sport. So I would say those were definitely favorites. Ukraine is a favorite these days, and then China is a favorite these days. It would have been interesting to see what Russia could have done if they had been in the tournament.
Yeah.
And then I would say Taiwan on the women's side.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful, and like I said, China on the women's side as well. And gosh, Turkey on the women's side.
Yeah.
Turkey always has a strong team. They had a couple of upsets this time through. One of my favorite boxers from Panama, she got a silver medal, so that was fun to see.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah, Bylon is her name,
Okay.
75 kilogram.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, just a lot of really good boxing, and I don't know what I'm going to do now with not being able to.
You got 4 more years to wait
Yeah,
now.
right.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was
So, I mean,
3 weeks
honestly,
of Olympic boxing.
right. I agree with you though. I think, like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all those Eastern European kind of countries, I'm a big fan of their style. I love the style that they teach over there, and I think it translates. I mean, we've seen it translate really well to the pros also. A lot of the like like Usyk and all the like Usyk and Lomachenko and all those guys that come from those Eastern European countries. I'm just impressed because it just seems like I know you know more than me because um, with you've been teaching Olympic boxing for a long time, but yeah, that I feel like that long range kind of style just I mean it's killer, especially on the Olympic side. I feel like I don't know. I guess could you I mean would you say that'd probably be the best style for Olympic boxing? I mean, what would you like? I know everyone's style is a little different, but I mean, do you think that's almost like the way to go?
Yeah.
Almost,
Oh yeah, because you only have 3 rounds.
Right,
So it's not like a pro match where you have 8, 10, 12 rounds. You can wear somebody down. There's lots of different styles that can be effective. On
right,
the athletic or the Olympic style or the amateur level, whatever you want to call it, you only have 3 rounds to work. So you have to try to impress those judges as quickly as possible and make it very, very clear, the work that you're getting done. And so the easiest way to do that is from a longer range where the judges can actually see the punches happening, because if you think about it, they're watching both boxers at the same time.
right. That's tough.
So how in the world are they supposed to, if both boxers, for example, infighting,
Yeah,
right, infighting, judges will even say punches to the body are actually worth a little bit more than punches to the head because they're more difficult. Okay, great. But if both boxers are infighting, especially if they're super, super close together and they're near ropes or near a corner, how many of those judges are really able to see, have that really have vision of both of them landing punches at the same time? So that's one of the reasons that long range can be really useful. And remember, on the Olympic level, you're talking about a 20-foot ring. So that's 20 feet
right,
inside the ropes. That's a
right.
24-foot platform. A lot of the, not all, but a lot of the pro matches that we see on TV, those are in smaller rings
Yeah,
because the promoters want action. They
right,
don't want them moving around a lot. So unless a pro boxer has it in their contract, promoters are going to use that smaller ring for a reason. So that's another reason on the amateur level you see a little more distance. And I've always felt like that style is a really nice baseline kind
yeah,
of foundation for anybody that wants to turn pro and have any kind of style off of that. It's easier to like go from that style to the pro style and do well versus trying to have a pro style all through the amateurs. And that's a tough way to go.
yeah. I think you're right. I really I like that you said that. It is like I feel like it's a nice building block, right? Because if you have the ability to box on the outside, be a little longer, be on your toes a little bit, in and out. It's easier to be able to just sharpen your game on the inside as opposed to not being able to do that in the beginning. And you get to the pros, and not being able to box on the outside,
Yeah.
because I know it's always good for on the pro side to be well rounded, right? You want to be able to do both. But I
Yeah.
think I totally agree with you. I think it's just better to learn that amateur style. And I think that's one of the big reasons why, like in our original interview, way back, if you haven't seen that, scroll back a little bit and go watch that. But we talked about how, you do believe that the amateurs is a good pathway to the pros if that's the direction you want to go. So yeah, I think it's all about it's just about building blocks and whatnot. So
And then that
um
tournament, there's so many eyeballs on it that
yeah,
it's almost like a tryout. It's almost like an
yeah,
audition for some of these promoters to say, "Oh, that fighter wasn't on my radar. I like the way they move, or I like they let their hands go, or maybe they like the way they give media interviews, or then they look at their social media follow. Oh, they got a big following, and so it's also a way to get discovered if they want to go pro. But I also have to say that there are a lot of countries, the United States included, that it's also lucrative to stay in the Olympic pipeline.
Yeah.
You can make a great living as an Olympic boxer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially now in this day and age where we talk about social media and sponsorships and all that kind of stuff, I mean, why not? If because if you're willing to, stick it out, and like you were saying, that some of these people went back to back. The one girl from, was it Brazil, Panama, that went bronze, silver, gold?
Yeah, China. Yeah.
China. Yeah, yeah. So it's like, if you're willing to stick it out and rack up these medals, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Like we were saying in that interview as well, we did a couple months back. Pro is not always the final destination either for a boxer. Like,
Right.
going pro isn't always the ultimate goal. Like, some of these people just want to, do the Olympics or just have an amateur career or whatever the case may be. And I think that's the beauty of boxing, is it's not always linear. There's so
Yeah.
many different directions that you can take the sport of boxing. And that's honestly one of the huge reasons why I love it myself. I know you the same way, so
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
So while we're talking about countries,
Yeah.
let's talk about Team USA and
Yeah.
and what tripped us up a little bit. And I'll just go in order of probably, I think I'll just go in order of weight class or something. But
Yeah, let's do that. That's cool.
instead of thinking about when they were boxing, because I can't remember. It was
There's a lot.
what
It's a lot
was
going
it?
on.
18 days of boxing or something. So I can't
Yeah.
remember it that way. So Jennifer Lozano, 50 kilograms. She's a southpaw from Texas, and she dropped her opener to Finland.
Yep.
And that was a 5-0 decision on that. And then then it was Roscoe Hill, 51 kilograms. So he beat the refugee boxer 5-0, and then lost to France in a 3-2 decision. So he went 1-1 for the tournament. And then Alyssa Mendoza from Idaho, 57 kilograms, really a relatively kind of unknown boxer on this level. Won her opener against Tajikistan. That was a huge win, 3-2.
Yeah.
And then lost to Brazil on a 4-1 decision. So she went 1-1 in the tournament. And then on the men's side at 57 kilograms was Jamal Harvey. He won his opener against Brazil 3-2, and then lost to Kyrgyzstan 3-2. And then it was Jahaira Gonzalez at 60 kilograms. She beat France 4-0. So if there's 5 judges, how do you get a 4-0? Well, the 0 is a tie.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she lost to France, so she went 1-1. And then Morel McCain lost her opener. She was 66 kilograms. She lost her opener to Uzbekistan, so she went 0-1. And then Omari Jones had a great tournament. Omari's from Texas.
Yeah.
He beat Taiwan 5-0, beat Bulgaria 5-0. And I mean, to me, those 2 matches, he just put on a clinic. Talk about boxing at long range.
Yeah.
Great use of the jab. Those 2 matches, he looked fantastic. So he won both of those matches 5-0, and then he lost to Uzbekistan 3-2.
Which you said they were one of the best countries in the tournament, so it's hard to hang your hat on that, you know what I mean?
Very hard to beat. Yeah. And then Josh Edwards lost his opener to Italy 3-1. Yeah.
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 There was a lot that I was surprised. I mean, I think for Team USA, I know you're going to go in more depth here in a minute, but I just think it turned into a lot of just close calls, and it's like stuff that I thought was, I was surprised that a lot of people dropped their opener, and it's like, man, it's just these tough opponents they were fighting off the bat, in these early rounds. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables that go into, winning a match or performing at your best. Yeah. And I mean, and that's true for any sport, right? So like even like in gymnastics, obviously Simone Biles is the best, right? Obviously. But in that what was that individual floor routine or whatever? I think it was Brazil that
Yeah.
won. And she's like, yeah, she had the best floor routine today, you know?
Right.
So, and that's how it works at the Olympics, especially like a single elimination tournament like boxing. It's who is best on that day.
Right.
And so I remember after her match, I remember hearing from some journalists that Jennifer Lozano, for example, had been really sick. And I knew through some, through the grapevine from some other people that COVID was going around the games. Oh, I think we had a track, one of our track stars ran with COVID.
You're right.
Lyles, I think.
Noah Lyles, yep.
Yeah, they thought he was going to get gold. He ended up getting a bronze with COVID. Yeah. So
that, which is insane to think about.
Yeah,
that.
I know. So, if she had been her best, would that have gone differently? But the other thing is, looking at the scores, I was telling you what the scores were and 3-2 and 4-1 and whatever. But the truth is, the scores really are not going to tell you much about the match because it's the 10-point must system. And right. Here we are, the limitations of the 10-point must system. It can be paper thin close. And at the end of that round, the winner gets 10 and the loser gets 9.
Yeah.
That it doesn't give you any extra information there. I mean, that's it. Yeah. So unfortunately, what happens then, if you lose that first round, a lot of the boxers, they felt like they won it, right? So now, did that take them out of their game? Is it a psychological issue? Because they're thinking, wait a minute, I really thought I won that round. What in the world am I going to be able to do to win the next round? Because you have to win now the next round just to stay competitive.
Right.
And that's another thing that I was noticing is if the judges are really judging honestly and one person really does win the first round and they really do win that second round, that means going into the third round, the score is 20-18.
Yeah.
That losing boxer, losing up until that point, they do not have a chance to win that match. Realistically, they don't have a chance to win that match. And I felt like I was seeing boxers like dejected, by that point, because they're like, what can I do? Knockout.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is very rare in athletic boxing.
Yeah.
Olympic boxing, very rare. There was, on the men's side, there was 1 KO. That was it.
Yeah.
And then the other option is complete domination, to the point that the judges are going to give like a 10-8 and then it would be tied. And then you need them to push your button as the tiebreaker. What are the chances of that happening? Right. So I just feel like this 10-point must system is not appropriate for 3 rounds of boxing. I know a lot of people feel like it's not appropriate for pro boxing either, but for 3 rounds of boxing, I think the 10-point must system has a lot of limits. So yeah, what goes into winning or losing a match? So many variables: psychological, health, momentum, things like that. But the main thing to remember from a coaching standpoint is that first round is so important. You got to win the first round.
Right.
You have to be dominant right from the bell. And then we also know that the other rounds are important too. So really, it's pedal to the metal. Round 1 for sure, and you better go ahead and repeat that rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's something that I think that a lot of people don't take into account a lot of times with boxing in general is how deep the psychological aspect is of it. If you go into it and your psyche's not there, you could lose before you even walk in the ring, and you've seen that plenty of times. We've seen it in a lot of different areas, and health. You're right. I didn't even really think about that until you kind of brought that up about one of our boxers not feeling the best. When you're traveling halfway across the country, possibly eating different foods and all kinds of stuff like that, that's a big effect, and that's a big change, So that's just the small things that I don't think people take, into consideration. I think that when we see these athletes at such a high level, we kind of see them as like these robots, that are just like programmed to do their thing, but they're just like everybody else. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? This is how it is,
Yeah.
We did get a comment here I wanted to tell you. Austin's women boxing gym said, hello from Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for the daily summaries of the tournament It really helped me understand the boxing action a lot better, the difficulty of the scoring system, and the difficulty of the scoring system. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, that was really cool. We love hearing stuff like that, you know. And I had a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram and whatnot. I told you quite a few of them that did, but yeah, so many people reached out and they're like, "This is such a great idea. Thank you, Dr. Halbert, you know, for all your time and all that stuff." So I guess this would be. I was gonna wait to the end to probably say this, but you know, I just want to say, you know, thank you again. It just perfectly
Oh
shows in
man.
that comment there, you know. So
No, I've loved
um,
it, and I love talking about this stuff and geeking out on it or whatever you call it. I
yeah,
just wish we could have shown some video because it would have been ideal to be able
yeah,
to do some breakdowns but
yeah.
woo, they're quick on that
They
video.
were.
Make sure we don't snap anything.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I'm telling you. So, in case a lot of you guys might not have known, I think that so our second episode, um, Dr. Halbert put together a beautiful editing, you know, where she was literally like breaking down the, you know, the actual videos of boxers and stuff. And, you know, I think there was like, what was it, day two? There was a headbutt or something. You wanted to go into that headbutt that happened and the effects of that. All kinds. It was great. I literally like I watched the video she sent me beforehand. I was like, I cannot wait to post this. We posted it, and within 20 minutes, I was flagged for a copyright strike. So we ended up. I think it only got like 2 or 3 views. So some of you guys may have seen it. Maybe you're on here, but it got took. I had to take it down. Unfortunately, YouTube told me that I needed to take it down. So ended up doing that. So we were we were a little dejected about that. Speaking of dejection, we were like, man, we were super excited for that episode. We were really hyped, and but you know, you got to roll with the punches, and I do understand that, you know, it's the Olympics. You know, they're very heavy on that brand, and you know who has broadcasting rights and stuff. So obviously, we're not trying to step on any toes or anything, but um, you know, I think we, you know, you still did a great job. You know, I think the pictures still did it. The scoring cards did it great. It's just you know, not a lot of people are putting out Olympic content, and I think that we were just kind of one of the ones that were like, hey, we're going to step up to the plate and give you guys, you know, what we can at least. So
Yeah, so you can find the older videos obviously on your YouTube
yep,
channel, and then the scorecards themselves, I guess, will be up for a while. Maybe on the if you want to go back and find a particular scorecard,
yep,
I guess they'll be they'll be on the Olympic site for a while. And I did want to. So a couple of people asked about that Southpaw advantage,
yeah,
because we had talked about that in
yeah,
episode 1.
yep,
So in terms of Southpaws, in like the general public in the United States, for example, left-handed people account for about 10%, 10 to 20-ish percent, depending on how you measure it.
yeah,
And then in the boxing tournament, they account for about 29% of the boxers.
which is very interesting. I think.
Yeah, yeah. And then in the top 4, so this is across all of the weights, and I divided it up by women and men, and it
Yeah.
was still the same numbers.
Wow.
So Southpaws 29% in the tournament, and they represented 33% of the top 4 boxers.
Wow.
Yeah, so semifinalists.
Yeah.
And so, for all the coaches and boxers out there, get your work against the Southpaws.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
get it in, and the Southpaws. You got to get your work against the Southpaws as well, because
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
if you want to hit that level, roughly 30% of the boxers that you're going to face, you could expect to be Southpaw.
Yeah, yeah, and I've said this multiple times. I've said it a couple times with you. You know, um, I'm a southpaw. Every time I get in there to spar with another southpaw, it just I can't help it. It throws me off, man. You know, and I need to be better about that. But um, it's
Well,
just
and
it's
and
an
and
availability
they're
thing.
hard to find. They
Yeah,
really are hard to find, because we just had a sparring on yesterday at the gym.
yeah.
Just invite a few teams. Hey, come on, let's spar. 48 boxers showed up. I did not invite 48. 48 showed up, so I'm happy about that.
Right.
But out of 48, I think there were 2 southpaws.
Isn't that crazy?
So that shows you. I mean, how. So who gets to work? Yesterday, who got to work against southpaws? Not
Yeah.
many people.
Right. And then you got to factor into that too what their weight is. You know.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like that breaks down even more. It's like, if he's only, the southpaw or the male or female, if they're only 150 pounds or whatever, and it's tough because if you have a 200-pound guy, he's not gonna, I mean, I guess you can do some light work with him and stuff like that, but it's like they're not gonna
Right.
get that real good work in with a southpaw, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough, and you encounter that plenty, I'm sure, and it's just it's almost like we just got to start calling more left-handers into the sport.
That's right.
And calling all left-handers, come on in, just give it a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They say we make pretty good boxers. I guess I think, what was it? Was it Rocky Balboa where was it Mick said he's like, those southpaws just leave with their heads all the time. You know what I mean? They're not good boxers. They leave with their heads. You know.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Hey, we got another comment. John Halbert said, "I learned a
Oh.
lot about boxing from reading The Ultimate Boxer."
Oh, yeah. Appreciate that plug, John Halbert. Yes.
Hey, it's on Amazon, guys. Her shit. Dr. Halbert's got a book out. And if you're interested in reading that, you guys have been watching these and are like, man, I really want to pick Dr. Halbert's brain some more. Amazon, baby, you gotta love it.
I'm working on putting together maybe another book. So
Yeah.
over the years, people have said, "Oh, update the Ultimate Boxer," and
Yeah.
so I've thought about that. But now I think I want to do a different book. Maybe still update the Ultimate Boxer, but that might be a project further down the road. So those of you that got my phone number, you can text me or drop it in the comments with Justin. If you have an idea about a book that you'd like to see, I'd love to hear what you all want. That'd be helpful, because I know what I like. I know what I like to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited about what the next step is.
Most definitely, absolutely. If I come up with something, I'll definitely text you too. I think that's cool. I like that kind of stuff. I think that, but I see what you mean on your end too, where it's like, some stuff you'd want to talk about, but it's almost like you kind of want to bump those ideas up other people and see what other people are actually interested in. So
Yeah.
I get it. So let's talk about. So I think we did a pretty good recap of just about everything that went down. Unless there was something else you want to talk about the Paris games. I kind
Oh,
of want to look.
there were some cuts. And
Yes.
if you watched the tournament, you saw that once the cut occurred, the next time you saw that boxer, if they advanced, they were allowed to wear those strips
Yeah.
on the cut, and sometimes they stayed on, sometimes they came off, sometimes it was a rebleed, that kind of thing. So thankfully, to my knowledge, nobody ended up having to drop out of the tournament because of a cut, because we have seen that at World Championships. They drop out of the tournament. They can't they're so messed up they can't even go to the medal ceremony, things like that. The headgear needs to go back on, and not for concussion, for cuts, for hematoma, for scrapes. The headgear really protects a lot. And sometimes some of the matches that I was watching, I saw men, the clash of heads, and there was no cut, and it started making me wonder, is part of the reason we're seeing certain boxers on this level because they are not susceptible to getting cuts.
Yeah.
And that's not a good way to choose, your best boxer. Oh,
right.
He's less likely to get cut.
Yeah.
We need the best boxers. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of put the headgear back on the men, and maybe make some tweaks to the scoring system, that kind of thing. Make it more fun for the athletes.
So who would that go through? Would that have to go through the IOC to get that reinstated back on, like, for the headgear, or what's the protocol for, like, getting something like that revised?
Yes, it's the International Federation. So right now there's not an international federation, and that's part of the reason you haven't seen any rule changes recently, is because there really is no international federation. So the old one was kicked out by the IOC. They were kicked out, and there's a new international federation, there's a new body called World Boxing, and they are trying to get status as the international federation.
Gotcha. Okay. And that kind of leads into my next question I had for you. I've been reading some articles lately, and I've been seeing, and I'm not sure the full intricacies of it. I just kind of skimmed over some interview or some articles rather, but a lot of people have been sharing this on social media, and it kind of made me nervous that it might be some misinformation being spread and whatnot. But I've been hearing that boxing as of right now is not on the slate for 2028 in LA. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on that. I think part of that has to do with the new sanctioning body needing to be, you know, put in place and all that stuff. We know we're not really going to get into it, but we already know this year there were scuffles between the IBA and the IOC, and so that's been kind of a ongoing thing. Unfortunately, it just had to do with some certain boxers, and like I said, we're not going to get into it. We're not breeding any hate or anything like that, um, but yeah. So what do you think? I mean, we've heard this in the past too. I feel like. I mean, I heard in, I feel like the past few Olympics, 2020, 2024, that there was rumors that there was going to be boxing in it. So what's your take on all that?
So the way it stands right now, my understanding is that technically boxing is not on the program for 2028, but there are other sports in that same situation.
Right.
Boxing has been in the modern games since it was a display event in 1904.
Yeah.
So, and boxing has such a long tradition, and we bring so much to the games that the IOC, and in fact, they've stated just in the past week, they've made public statements. We want boxing, but there has to be an international federation. We cannot continue to organize Olympic boxing. There has to be an international federation. For an international federation to be recognized, they have to be an organization for a certain number of years. They have to have a certain number of countries. And world boxing is picking up some steam. And what you're going to see after the games are over, you'll see more countries jumping onto world boxing. Yeah. So my expectation is that there'll be at least 50 countries, in another month or two. There'll be at least 50 countries that join world boxing, and then they'll make their pitch to be the new international federation for boxing. And as long as they can do that, then and get recognized by the IOC, then we should be okay for LA 28.
And I hope,
yeah, because I mean, boxing back in the Olympic boxing in the United States, it would be great to have the tournament back here.
Most definitely, and it's just, I mean, it'd be great to have it here, and it'd be great to, just, I mean, it's one of the original Greek Olympic sports, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's like I'd hate to see something like that go, and on top of that, just all the hard work that so many of these athletes put in. People might just, they might just watch them in the tournament, but they don't realize that, people train for years, from little kids, you know what I mean, to go to the Olympic Games in any sport, and boxing's the same way. And it's one of those, I think boxing, like you said, it's just one of those sports that brings so much to the games. I saw the other day where a bunch of the Olympic boxers were like LeBron and Steph Curry and all the NBA players were asking to take pictures with the boxers, Olympic boxers. And it's just one of those things where boxing is that sport where, I don't know, I think it's just that it's that grit. It's maybe just the I don't know, maybe the danger of the sport, something like that, where it's like there's just that something with boxers, I feel like, where, I don't know, people just get hyped about it. And I think it's just, even someone like LeBron was like, I want to get a picture with Amari Jones, you know what I mean? And all these guys. And that's a cool feeling, and I think you're right. I think if boxing is out of the 2028 games, I think we're not just saying that because we're two huge boxing fans, but I think there will be a lot missing from the games, so.
Yeah, and it will harm our sport overall.
Yeah.
Boxing is a sport that really benefits by Olympic inclusion, because the Olympics really is the top of our sport. Some other sports, it's the World Cup, or it's the World Championships or something like that. But for boxing, the ultimate medal really is that Olympic medal.
Absolutely. Like, could you imagine soccer without the World Cup?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, there's so many people that just watch the World Cup. That's it.
Yeah. And they add a lot of sports, and they add a lot of there's sports where they want to add the superstars and stuff. But at the end of the day, Wimbledon is the biggest in tennis, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you didn't have Olympic tennis, it wouldn't be as big a deal to, big an impact on the practitioners of the sport. The golf, same kind of deal. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep. So I'm just saying, I'm crossing everything I got, just to hope to see boxing in 2028. Hopefully they get all that, get all that together. And unfortunately, you hate to see that it's a lot of it has to do with sanctioning bodies kind of arguing and, you know, maybe somewhat political kind of stuff. But, you hate to see that get in the way of the sport. But that's also just a part of it, man. It's just the world we live in, and but yeah, hopefully there's some kind of resolution made for that because well, I just wanted to bring this up to you, and I know we talked about this a little bit when it came out, but um, so what are your thoughts? We got our good buddy Jake Paul. He's talking about his possible road to the Olympics. And as you guys know, you guys that have watched me for a long time, I'm not a Jake Paul hater. I think he brings a lot to the sport. I like him. He's getting better and better. I know Dr. Halbert. He does. She likes him too. He does a lot for the sport and women's boxing. He's been doing a lot of things to promote women's boxing and whatnot. But I don't know how possible that is, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. With him being a pro.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that announcement. It was just a couple of days ago
Yeah.
that he made that announcement. I was really surprised by that. Uh, and I just got a text from somebody asking me the same question.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't see at the moment. I don't see how that's possible for him.
Right.
Because at the moment there's not a pathway for him to do that, and the reason is because in the United States we use non-pros. So
Right.
for the United States, they're part of the eligibility criteria is that you're not a pro boxer.
Yeah.
Now that was different for Tokyo because in Tokyo that was COVID.
Yeah.
And two of the male boxers, Tokyo didn't happen in 2020. They turned pro, and then the U.S. brought them back.
Yeah.
So I guess they grandfathered them in or
Right.
whatever. But at the moment, things change. But at
Yeah.
the moment in the United States, if you're a pro, you're not eligible to be in the Olympic tournament, to be a representative of the United States for the Olympics.
Right. Because you do see
Yeah.
some countries, like I think we said, was it Uzbekistan? Their
Oh yeah,
boxer
lots
won
of
gold.
countries.
Yeah, he was a pro. He's a pro boxer.
Yeah. There were
So
there were
some countries
lots
do.
there are lots of pros in the Olympics, I think. So United States doesn't use pros. I think Great Britain doesn't use pros. I think Ireland doesn't use, like, there's a handful of countries that don't,
Yeah.
but most of them do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess if something does change between then and now, maybe he knows something we don't. I don't know, but
He'd still now let's say the United States did change their rule, he would still have to qualify.
right. So does that
So
mean he'd have to? So he have to build an amateur record then, and then get accepted? Like, how would that?
not I mean, so he'd have to be deemed as qualified to be in some kind of Olympic trials or selection camp or something, right? And then selected, and then from there, it would be he'd have to then go to qualification tournaments to make
Gotcha.
it to that Olympic tournament. I mean, this is true for anybody, right?
Right.
So let's say you are the Team USA selection, you still have to qualify for the Olympics. So this time through, it was a continental qualifier for us in the Americas. That was the Pan Am Games,
Yeah.
and then there were two world qualifiers.
Yeah.
And so you go to qualifiers until you qualify, and then you're good and you're in the tournament, and then you take it from there. But I also, if I were advising him or anybody else, you don't just want to jump in, like year 3 and try to do this. You'd want to start doing some work at this point to make sure that you were ready in 4 years.
Yeah.
Because it's really not this. It's not as easy as, well, I'll train as a pro for 3 years and then I'll just jump in and make it work. You really, there are certain skills and tactics and strategies that you want to be familiar with and be ready for before the the big show.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, I don't want to say that like Olympic boxing is a different sport, but it's definitely a different, name of the game, at least a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not like we said a little bit ago for you guys maybe just joined in, pro boxing has a way different style. You have more time to work. There's different aspects of the game. Olympic boxing is a lot more fast paced. You do a lot better at long range, getting in and out of the pocket, stuff like that. So it's just I'm not saying it's a different sport, but it's got some differences though
Yeah.
in the way the styles work, and everything. So,
Yeah.
but absolutely, yeah. So, I don't know. I guess, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, it was a very interesting tournament.
Yeah,
It was fun to talk to reviewers about it and look at the scorecards and
yeah,
things like that. So that was kind of fun, and it forced me to think about a few things that otherwise they would have been fleeting thoughts. So
right,
made me do some deep dives and really made me think about I'm still a coach, so thinking about best practices in the gym and how
yeah,
I can best prepare boxers in camps or in my own gym or whatnot. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you get a chance, if you can go back, I don't know if they're on YouTube or they're on Peacock or whatever, but check out some of those bouts because there was some really good boxing.
yeah, yeah. And I was super hyped. I watched as much as I could, and I was just hyped at the amount of people that came to me, and they were like, "Hey, I've been watching Dr. Halbert's recaps, and I went and bought Peacock and started watching some of the fights." So that was super cool. Super cool. It was a good feeling to see that we're putting a knowledge and a platform together that a lot of people aren't doing, and bringing light to the sport.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Ernest Rodriguez said, "Is boxing going to be part of the 2028 Olympics?" We did just talk about that. So as of right now, they're Dr. Halbert was saying they're kind of working on getting the World Boxing, was it organization or
Yep.
committee?
World boxing. Yep.
Yeah. So they're trying to get a sanctioning body together that's going to govern um, Olympic boxing. So as of right now, it's not on the program list for 2028, but we're hoping that with the creation of that sanctioning body that's going to, you know, govern and regulate everything, we're hoping to see them again in the 2028 Olympics. But as of right now, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it could be up in there. But
No, we need to plan. We need to plan on it,
yeah, we're planning.
right?
I mean, you
Yeah.
got to plan on it. It's got to be there. I
Absolutely.
mean, because to also Ernest, also to answer your question, like this isn't the first year we've heard this, either. So it's like there's been games in the past where they've talked about this as well. I remember, like, if I'm not mistaken, at one point they said in 2024 there wasn't going to be, and then same thing I thought for Tokyo. I heard rumors about it. So I would say plan on it happening and be surprised if it's not. I think
Yeah.
I like that ideal. Because I do think that what Dr. Halber was saying earlier. I think they're gonna. I think if they get as many countries as you're saying that will fall in with it in the next coming months or whatever, I think should be no issue. So, um, but yeah. So listen, hey, it's Sunday night. I'm not gonna hold the rest of your night, Dr. Halbert. I'm gonna let you get to it. I just again want to say thank you so much for all the time and effort you put into this. And yeah, I mean, I think we got great feedback from it. And I know you're not going to be a stranger. I'll have you on as much as I can. I don't want to wait another 4 years till the 2028 to have you back on. So we'll have to keep in touch on here and have you back on every once in a while, whenever honestly, whenever you want to. We got some people in the chat. If you don't mind, if you made it this far, give me a like on here, share it with a friend. It helps me, helps Dr. Halbert as well. Big shout out, Dr. Halbert's Gym, Fighters Nashville. You can go follow them on Instagram at Fighters Nashville. Boxing Resource Center on Instagram as well at Boxing Resource. Um, you know, just spread the love. It doesn't cost anything to follow. It doesn't cost anything to support. So if you're ever in the Nashville area, or maybe you are watching from the Nashville, I got a lot of Nashville friends. If you are watching, stop in the gym. They do all levels. If you want to be in the 2028 Olympics, she can get you there. If you just want to get in shape, she can get you there. You know what I mean? So
Let's do
um,
it.
let's do it. I know that I love that gym. You guys have a special place in my heart. I know you guys have some upcoming shows too. I'm hoping to make it down too. So yeah, I don't know if do you have solid
We
dates
don't
on
have the
those? You
date.
can,
We don't have the dates yet, but yeah, coming up. Coming
okay,
up.
yeah. Let me know because I want to come down and support the best
Yeah.
way I can. And Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you, Dr. Halbert. Thank you guys for watching. This wouldn't mean anything if you guys weren't watching. Ernest Rodriguez came in and said Christy's the best coach in Tennessee. Hey,
Ernie, thank you for the love, man.
I
Appreciate
would.
it.
I don't even know. I don't know why we're just confining her to Tennessee. I mean, I'm saying not trying to not trying to toot anybody's horn here, but I wouldn't say it's not just Tennessee, but no, for real. We love you, Dr. Halbert. Thank you so much again, and yeah, hope you have a good rest of your evening, and we'll be in contact. And Fight Night Gang, thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Planning on
Goodbye.
Wednesday for everything. So absolutely. You guys have a good night. Thank you so much, Dr. Halbert.
Bye bye.
Bye bye now.